welcome to the latest of our Flex webinar series. Today, we're excited to be here once again to talk to you about the payments integration that is coming to Flex in the very near future. It's been a fun year for the team here. I think this is our fourth big webinar of the year, starting back in February. We were able to launch the first version of our Staffing Plus product. That was followed by some updates to our RFID platform. And then, we launched DocuSign in the first half of the year as well. So this is a fourth milestone for us of the year. The team's been working super hard to make Flex the operating system of choice for you and your teams, and really looking forward to sharing what we have today. So without further ado, I will hand it over to our fearless leader, Chris, who many of you know, and he's going to walk you through how payments is going to be integrated into the Flex platform.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. We are very excited to be launching payment integration and glad you've joined us today. What we really set out in the beginning to attain is to really help our customers optimize their workflow and reduce the employee workload in general, reduce errors, and provide visibility and notifications for these payments. And so with that, what we want to do is give you a kind of quick overview of how the system has functioned without payment integration. A lot of times there's three different roles involved. There's the customer, there's the account manager who's working with the customer, there's the accounts receivable within your company. And if a quote for a customer needed a payment, oftentimes that payment is set up in a different platform and oftentimes controlled by the accounts receivable role. They'll have to take that information out of the quote, put it in the payment platform manually. They would send that to the customer. The customer would process that payment. That payment gets sent out to that separate platform. The account receivable person would record that payment manually back in Flex. They'd notify the account manager, all that to maybe get to either a confirmed job or a final invoice payment process. So a lot of manual processes. When we've talked to certain customers, as we've reached out to them on and showed this platform, one of the things that became very apparent was also where that payment platform existed. Currently, a lot of customers are using that payment platform out of their accounting platform. And so there's some really good reasons as it stands right now for them to keep that payment platform separate from the account manager because there's so much sensitive information in there. And so what this allows us to do is to radically reduce the steps and improve processes. So what this allows the account manager to function with the inventory, the quotes, the invoices, payments, all your employees are working out of Flex, and we keep the payment process out of your accounting process, and that really separates and secures the payment platform or separates the accounting platform from payments. We found that is a very broad usage in our industry. So this allows a very simple workflow that we will optimize the workflow, reduce the workload on people to duplicate, reduce errors, and we're going to be showing you the in-app status visibility and the notifications. And so what was a very complex step-by-step process becomes vastly simplified, where the account manager can request a payment from the customer can process that through automated functions. These payment records are put into Flex. We can notify the user and we can get work done and get back to planning these events instead of having to wait for communication process. Flex is very configurable and different customers have different workflows. And what we want to make sure is that we can support all the different workflows. So we're going to start out with the simplest payment process towards an invoice and add more complexity on top of that. So in Flex, I've got this simple invoice. We've got the client. We've got the details of the job. We've got the totals here. Currently in the totals, we don't have any applied payment and the balance due is $450. If the user has permission, and we'll show you where that permission exists and is configurable in the system, the financials submenu here on the right-hand side now has a send payment link. And so let's see, we are going to send this payment link and it puts in the payment amount, adds the description and the invoice number. And I forgot one thing. Maria, will you make sure I'm going to be sending this to Lisa? Will you verify that Lisa is online, ready to make those payments? If not, I will change the customer. I forgot to double check that. But right now, I will send the client this email, and I'm going to hop over to my email, and we'll show you what has been sent. So the client will have the paperwork attached with this. The email that you send is configurable as an email template. And then there is a link there that the client will click on. And I'll show you what that looks like. So what the client will see is this would be your company information, the invoice number or the element number, the payment amount, the currency, and this is one that I've already paid. In there, they will have the ability to put in a specific, whether they're going to be paying with credit card or ACH. So to show that, I'm going to just duplicate this really quick, and we'll copy this invoice. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to change the client to me. And I'll send that to me. And now I'm going to go back to my email. And this will show up in a couple seconds. And so what the end client will see is all that information. They can pay via credit card or ACH. If they're using their credit card information and they have something like Apple Pay, you can use your Apple Pay or Google Pay stored information there, and it'll add that information. So that's what the customer will get. Showing you some of the notifications in areas that are helpful. Let's go into the menu, and we're going to go to Integrations and Pay Engine. What you'll see here is this is where it is configurable, who can use it or what groups can use it. The payment links is a really helpful area. This is where what are technically called webhooks, but this is a list of all the payment links that we have sent out of this system, what job they've been associated with, a link to that actual payment link, and the current status and different detail here. This is updated about 10 seconds after things were processed. And so this link, there's the one that I sent to Lisa. This is the one that I sent to myself. Both of those have been marked as paid. So let's go back to this invoice. I'm going to do a quick refresh. And a couple of things have happened here. let's open up the inventory tree. You'll see there has been a payment record made through the webhook, and that has all the details of what it was applied to, the remaining balance on the applied to element, the payment amount. Also in here, we have some status changes through automation through the webhook. Because the balance due is 0, it is marked this as invoice paid. We have record of the payment in the element itself, so we don't have to look at the accounts receivable, but we can, so all that information is there. And then other information that we have here is in-app notifications. These are the area where we can see all the interactions of what we've received. And so as you've seen, that little orange dot shows we have new actions that we've received from outside sources. There's the different links that we have sent, and the status has been updated. And this notification area is getting extremely powerful. In the next release, we've integrated with DocuSign and added this same integration where we will notify users of documents being signed, and we will actually be adding the status of DocuSign integrations and requests in app for DocuSign. So our goal here is to really reduce the amount of communication back and forth between outside products. We can process the payment request through Flex. We can see the status in Flex, and the payments will be reflected when they've been received back in Flex. So all that process is so much more efficient and optimized. So that is the simplification of the payment process. So we're also going to show some functionality of a lot of times in our industry, people are requesting partial payment from a quote and then getting a final invoice and a paid full action. So we've got this payment. Currently, it's a quote. And let's update some details in here. And I'm going to just copy these line items. And I'm going to paste those copied lines. So now we have this quote. Under the payment process, I might say we're going to request 225. I'm going to give it a description of deposit as an example, and I'm going to send that out to Lisa for processing. And so what we're doing is just sending a partial invoice request. If we go to Pay Engine, I'm going to refresh this page. And so now you'll see this link here, and the status is unpaid. Updates that are coming to this page in the next release, we're showing the payment amount, the description, adding a refresh page, and doing some more polishing. But this gives us the ability to see what's been done outside of Flex. We'll just refresh that really quick. Information still coming back. One other functionality that we've got here is the functionality to configure the email template that will be used when you're sending that information to the client. So let's refresh this one last time. Still coming through. Let me double check that. Okay, so now that quote has the payment received as a child element for the quote. We can click on there and see the details of the payment, the remaining balance, the payment amount. And back to the quote, you'll also see the payment information that was applied. So through workflow, we might confirm the quote, update the pull sheet, things like that. But now we've got to the point where maybe during this job, there's been some additional stuff added. And I'm going to add a service here. Oops. And we've added, hey, they decided they needed us to deliver it and pick it up, and that was an additional $250. So I might, through this workflow, generate that final invoice. Through that process, we have created a child element of the quote as the invoice, and then we've moved the accounts receivable record from the quote to the invoice. And we've always done that. But now on this invoice, we can do a payment link. And let me look at one thing really quick. In this, let's go to the totals. Second. On the test system. Okay, let's go back to the invoice and let's look at totals. Okay, so balance due is still 475. So, and here we're going to send the payment link. We're going to change this to 475. That will auto update in a future release and put the balance due. We'll do final balance due. We'll send that to the client. So Lisa should be getting this payment information. And similar to how everything else has worked in the past now, when she's done with that, this will have 2 account payment records. We'll update the status to invoice paid, and we'll get all that information in there. And so what that allows us to do is, even in this simplified workflow, when we've had multiple steps here, with this payment, this would have been duplicated twice between the deposit and the invoice. So those steps have been reduced in each of those processes and much greater simplified. So let's go back here and let's refresh this page. You'll see it's closed. We now have 2 payment records in there, one for the deposit, one for the balance due. These 2 payment records are here. There is the first payment for $225, the second payment for $475, and status changes in here. It has been marked as paid by the webhook user. And if we go to the integrations to Pay Engine, updated links there, and notifications for another payment. So all that information is being handled through webhooks, automation, no errors copying data back and forth between systems, no duplication of work between 2 different platforms. If we were to export all this information, say out to QuickBooks, all these records get pushed there automatically. So it's a much more simplified, optimized workflow. So as far as the Pay Engine integration and the details,
Chris,
funding.
maybe a quick pause here. I don't know that we introduced Pay Engine, but we did spend a significant amount of time investigating different potential partners to help us launch payments within Flex. We spent a good almost 4 or 5 months arriving at a partner. We talked to 10 plus different potential partners. and really rank them across kind of, a lot of different aspects, security being top of mind, making sure that they had a holistic product suite was top of mind, making sure that they could offer you all the most competitive pricing available was top of mind. And ultimately, we landed on selecting PayEngine as our partner. We're super thrilled to be working with them. They've been very supportive throughout the process to date, and they'll continue to be very supportive of you all as you kind of onboard to the platform and start to use it.
One of the other areas that was a reason why we chose them, we looked at a lot of the larger processing companies, the Squares and the Stripes, and the support for them was 24/7, etc. And one of the problems that we've noticed with a lot of these large customers, and we talk to existing customers who use those products, and support is 24/7, but the support responses are, look at this help desk article, etc. Where PayEngine is much more of a smaller company similar to us. We can get on, Zoom calls with you as needed, but the response are more human based in working with support with PayEngine instead of just here's a help desk article, good luck. And so that was another main reason why we went with them also. What else? Any other information on this screen, Jason? Funding
Yeah, I do
next.
want to, I think it's worth discussing the next day funding, right? Because that's a critical component again of why we selected PayEngine. We want to make sure that you're getting access to your funds as quickly as possible. On ACH, a lot of times people are waiting 2, 3 days for those funds to hit your account. On credit card, you're waiting. So with PayEngine, you will have next day funding. I should mention this is Monday to Friday in most cases, right? But you will have immediate, next day availability of funds to move those kind of where you see fit. And we think that's, really meaningful given some of the cash flow situations, to have the kind of immediate availability of those funds.
Yes. Let's see. And so as far as payment availability, we are launching with PayEngine is supporting us with US and Canadian currencies now. They have it on the roadmap to allow us to use this process in Australia, hopefully Q1 of next year, and UK Q2 of next year. Let's see. TJ had a question. Do you want to read me that question?
I haven't seen it yet.
Raised his hand. Do you want to see if there's notify them how they can ask
TJ,
questions?
yeah, the Q&A is available for everyone, but TJ, I think you're unmuted if you'd like to ask whatever you had on your mind.
Or type it into the QA area.
Oh, TJ's just said hi in the Q&A area, so I'll let you know when we have the question.
Okay. Getting this started, you will need, as far as any signing up for any merchant transaction, you'll need 3 bank statements. You'll need the business legal information. The business owner will be able to provide all that information. And it's basically a 10-minute onboarding process, fairly similar. And we're typically getting reviews of those back within 2 to 3 working days. So as far as early access, we do have customers currently using this, and early access, talk to sales at Flex Rental Solutions beginning October 24th, 21st. And then otherwise, general availability will be November 1st. And depending upon volume, we'll be working through those processes with the PayEngine team to get them onboarded and work through but we hope to get a lot of great feedback from this first initial release, and we will be continuing to add additional functionality into the payment platform built into Flex in future releases. So I'm really excited. This is something that has been a goal of ours, adding this whole DocuSign where we can get signatures. Yes, I want to confirm this job. B, I want to get my money before we start to doing the hard planning. What happens when this communication slows down between different people just to get payments is planning gets pushed back. If planning gets pushed back, then that's where a lot of errors get made in the planning, a lot of pressure gets added to the team members. What we really wanted to do is make sure that we get the information back in the product as quickly as possible so that you can get to planning these amazing events that you guys put on. So let's see. Let's open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, and we've got a bunch that's already come in. Thank you, folks. I appreciate your engagement here. Chris, one of the things that came up as you were kind of going through the flow is people were interested in kind of the payment type and if that would come through, right? So if someone paid with a credit card versus ACH, if that type of information is going to pull through.
That is on our roadmap for a future release, and we will be adding that to the features in the future. So the goal is to be able to map your payment type in Flex to a payment type in PayEngine, and then that information of record will be pushed back and forth, similar to the GL accounting in accounting platforms, syncing that up.
Cool. And then there was a question around just holds or authorizations and whether those would be available.
Yeah, the one thing that I have not shown, and I probably should, and we'll talk about some of those. Oh wait, let me go to here on the. I'm going to log into the merchant portal. And we'll show you a couple things on the merchant portal. You'll get your information on how much has been processed and volume. You've got customers who have paid you, transactions. You'll get all that information, transaction amount, fee amount, different settlements, payouts, disputes. But if I'm not mistaken, it will currently be through the portal or through PayEngine that a hold can be put. We might put that into the Flex product in the future, but we've been told by PayEngine that they do have the ability to do hold functionality. But we will get more information on that in future.
All right. There is a number of questions about kind of just credit card fees and making sure that we can kind of add those to a customer's bill.
That is a configuration in Flex, and the way that's typically been handled is through a functionality that we call fee matrices. And so as an example, it can be worked out with either support or sometimes working with our training department, but you can add specific percentages based on the payment terms. So if I've got a Visa payment term and Amex, you could have a separate payment term, and then you can apply that payment or that charge in the total block view based on your payment terms. It could be configured and calculated in there. So yes, that's a functionality that has existed in Flex for many years, and that would adjust. So in your payment terms, you would select that Amex or Visa or credit card, and that would add that additional 3% to the total. But yes, check with support and they can help configure that, or product training if you want to go more in depth.
Okay. Um, there was a question about just kind of being able to handle changes on the day of the event. I think you maybe kind of covered off on that a little bit with the delivery charge, right? But we've kind of got the flexibility to, kind of update things and request another payment based on day of changes.
Yeah, and a lot of that is more of a workflow. Some people might also, and this is a process question to me, depends how you want to do it. You could add a note added on site or things like that. Or some people will create a separate invoice. A lot of this depends on your client. Clients with large um, jobs that they may have their own purchase order and that purchase order amount cannot be changed. I would not add this to this quote, but I'd add a child quote called on-site additions and then invoice it separately. If you're putting it in there, another way I've seen people do it is they'll create a subtotal called on-site additions. And so in that functionality, this job has already been closed and we could open it up and do that. But they would have a subtotal of on-site additions and then change it to insert mode and add everything that they added there. So you'd have a subtotal so the client could see here's the total price, but the on-site addition was this amount. So that's more of a process of how do you want to handle it than how Flex can handle it many different ways.
Cool. All right. Could you maybe just talk through kind of the QuickBooks integration? There's a lot of people kind of asking out what that flow looks like and notifications and things along those lines.
Well, a lot of this process just gets pushed to the integration with a secondary service. So a lot of customers use a workflow on this to export that to QuickBooks. And so now we can, once that invoice has been generated, then we would hit export and that would push both the invoice, any payments, all those records associated with that invoice would be pushed over to there. So from this invoice, you'd use the same workflow of export to QuickBooks, and then that record of payment will go into QuickBooks, and the additional payment records will be pushed over to QuickBooks. And it just reduces the manual entry back and forth between the two systems.
Okay. There's a question around kind of multiple corporate IDs and if this can support multiple accounts.
Yes, that is on our roadmap. And that speaks to a lot of our work that we've got a lot of enterprise level companies. So a little bit of background. Let's make sure everyone knows what we're talking about. One of the functionalities that we've had for a while is the ability to have corporate identities and even allow for multiple corporate identities. So if you've got a Flex rental solutions in your brands of companies and Flex video solutions, and they're both quoting out of Flex, we've allowed that for a long time. And so in this quote, are you doing this under brand A or brand B? And then that would change the company name and the logo associated with that. So that question actually brings up two questions. Yes, we will support multiple merchants, but this is the first time we're announcing this, but we are actually right in the process right now of doing some QuickBooks integration updates. And we are working on the ability to have multiple QuickBooks accounting integrations being able to be simultaneously linked up via multiple corporate identities. So that is our goal for early next year, to support QuickBooks accounts for multiple corporate identities and multiple merchant accounts, because you want the different banking to be transacted to different bank accounts depending upon the different corporate identities. So happy to announce it is on our roadmap early next year to support it both in QuickBooks and payments.
Excellent. There's a few questions about kind of how refunds are processed.
I believe that is handled through the Pay Engine portal, and we will have more information and how-tos and videos as this gets released.
Yeah, I think for clarity there, yeah, at launch, I know that's another item the team is considering on the roadmap, is kind of being able to process refunds from within Flex, but at launch it would be kind of at the within the so. Let's see, is there a way to auto send a payment link once the client signs an agreement?
Currently, not yet. We are looking to do some workflows, and being able to tie activities to statuses and workflows. It's on the roadmap to start to do more functionality like that. Currently, it is separate.
All right. There was a question around webhooks being available. We've talked about webhooks a little bit. People were asking if they are now available in Flex.
Currently, those webhooks are purposely developed for the exact process in our app. We hope to add more generic ones in the future, but we had to set up the process for this. Each integration has its own unique platform. And so what you're going to see in your system is a payment link area and a connection, and that webhook, from getting that information back from Pay Engine is sending to the Flex database all customers stuff, and then based on their integration and parameters, our webhooks will then take that information. Oh, this came from customer X, that goes into that system. We are not showing payments for everything. So it's webhooks in this integration are very specific for each integration customer provider. We hope to do more webhooks that are more generic than that in the future, but we need to get the platform built out to have all this feature and functionality that we hope to expand as we go. But really, the beauty of this whole process is the user doesn't leave Flex to get best of breed functionality out of e-signature, DocuSign, payments, things like that. And so we want to continue to expand that platform and really allow Flex, let you do your work in Flex and send data and receive data to different platforms. So we think we're doing a great job. The fundamentals are sound. The visibility is amazing, and we're really proud of it.
Great. Well, let me see what else we have. Are there any plans to add additional ways to pay, like Zelle or things along those lines?
This actually brings up a different yes and no. We will see, but one thing to talk about is the integration that we have currently with Pay Engine is they also have integrations themselves. So I forget, do they integrate with Stripe also, or Square, or both? One of those two. But in theory, you can use this integration and configure your Pay Engine to use Stripe processing. So for those customers who are on currencies that aren't currently supported, you could still, I believe, through the pay engine integration, use their integration to Stripe to get the payments through your Stripe account and support multiple currencies that we currently do not support. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll get more information about that.
Yeah, it's something we're considering for the future. Let's see. There's a question just around kind of signing and DocuSign and payment, and if that can be a single step, and just kind of how that workflow works, kind of the DocuSign plus the
As of
payment.
right now, they're two separate companies. They are two separate process. We will be adding DocuSign integration with the notifications and the global pages that will be coming up this year. And that's as close as we're going to get for now, but that doesn't restrict us from integrating integrations through workflows and things like that. But it still takes a little bit more complex than that. But at least we're making it as easy and efficient as possible to do both and add those features and functionality.
Chris, could you maybe clarify a little bit more around kind of adding the credit card fees and kind of how that works? There's a number of questions, if they basically, if they're on the screen and they decide to, pay with credit card instead of ACH, how does that work?
I won't go too deep into it. We'll probably put a link to that with a specific webinar that we have. But oops, cannot type. Brain's already fried. But the functionality is I can tie these payment types to specific calculations. So right now my total's 50, but if I say it will recalculate my total based on a credit card fee based on the payment term. So that's as far as I'll get in. I don't want to get into the configuration. That's a whole nother webinar, but that's the concept is based on the payment terms, we can do additional calculations to add a fee and update the total.
Okay. There's a question around kind of saving credit card information on file. I know that is available within Pay Engine within the portal. So if you have a credit card on file and you want to charge that card, you'd be able to open your Pay Engine portal and navigate to that client and charge the card on file. And let's see what else we got here.
Yeah, and I believe there is the ability to do a virtual charge.
Yes, I've answered a few of those questions in the Q&A, but there was a number of people asking, about in-person payments and things along those lines. So the Pay Engine portal does have a virtual terminal that you can log in at any time and accept a payment.
Yeah, we will be working with them. They even have apps that can be put on phones that we are looking for future integration where you can do tap to pay on a phone through their app process. So there's possibility of us white labeling their app and adding that into our functionality.
Yeah.
So step one, built it into the workflow here in Flex, but there are lots of other new options. It's a brave new world.
There's a few questions around being able to kind of just walk through how the charges get added and if we can make sure that a customer only sees the option that matches their term. So if we put if we indicate that it's going to be a credit card payment, do they only see the credit card option on the payment page? Or if it's an ACH type payment, do they only see the ACH option on that page?
I know that there's a configuration whether you want to use one payment type in your merchant account or other. I do not know if we per transaction can limit that as of now.
Okay, we can follow up on that and provide an answer and some Q&A that we'll send out after today's session. Let me see. I'm going through here to see if we got anything else.
Let's take one more and then we'll leave the questions open and you can send those in to sales at Flex Rental Solutions and we will get those back to you as you have more information. We will be processing this video and sending it out later on. But let's take one last question.
Let's see. We've got, yeah, there's a number of things here. Let's see. Can you maybe just speak to, let's see. I think actually we've kind of covered off on the rest of these that I'm seeing, or there's.
We'll review them. We will have, a email that will go out and review a lot of those questions and put them in the responses and as a FAQ and add more information. So, let's see. Let's go back to. Yep. Again, early access October 21st. Watch your inbox for sign up information, general availability November 1st. If you want to get some preliminary information, send your information to sales@flexrentalsolutions.com and they'll get back to you on giving you a demo above and beyond what you need, and we'll go from there. So again, really exciting to get into this new area and doing it for the right reasons of really reducing duplicate of work, reducing errors, making it a much more seamless, efficient process for the users, and hope to continue to add overall value to our customers as we continue to develop. So thank you very much for your engagement, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.